defeated them only, sir. 2014 was a wave of Modi ji and 19 was tsunami of Modi ji. In that tsunami, if my district people have given me this chance to become member of parliament as independent, so I have my individual vision thinking with me, and that is carrying on. I'm doing according to that only. I am not, yes, I am supporting Modi ji. Yes, I am with Amit ji Shah. I am with them. But the way what I am fighting for, it is for my religion, and I'm going to stand for it.
So is religion then your entry into the Bharatiya Janata Party? Is that where Navneet Rana is now headed?
See, everybody is saying ki Hindutvadi, it is only BJP is working for. Or Hindustan mein, if you're living, then you should be Hindutvadi. And I'm very happy if somebody is connecting me with Hindutvadi's party. And today, I have no thinking or view to join BJP or something, but yes, I am with Modi ji.
Suddenly, you know, you're wearing Jai Shri Ram and you have Hanuman ji and you have Bhagwan Ram, all over this the thing that you're wearing. Why is Hindutvavad or reciting the Hanuman Chalisa suddenly so central to your politics? After all, you didn't win elections on this platform.
See, nobody can tell me that I have not won my elections on this platform. I am Hindu. How somebody comes and tells me and denied me that I am not Hindu. I am Hindu. I am living in Hindustan. And I follow my religion. It is not only me, my father, mother, they have from Hindu's family. I am. And in future, my children's kid will also follow this. So I am always, whether I have fought my election as individual, see, I'll tell you, 2,200 villages are there in my constituency. I have visited every village, every area, small to small kid knows Navneet Rana. It is my hard working in front of people, sir. So that hard working won't go. If you I follow from my childhood some religion, and I am following now, and I will follow that in my future also, whether I am individual, whether I am whatever I become.
Okay.
That nobody can break me with this.
Okay. Now, when you were taken to the police station, you said you were ill-treated inside the police station.
No, not police station. My words are very clear, sir. From the jail, lockup to jail,
okay,
it was not behaved how they should behave with anybody.
The Maharashtra police released images of you sipping a cup of tea, sitting very comfortably. They said distilled mineral water was provided to you. All this is politics to tarnish the image of Maharashtra, your state.
See, I'll tell you one thing. The Commissioner of Police of Mumbai, the way he tweeted with that video, it was that time when they have arrested us and the bail procedure was going in the police station, and they offered, ki madam, your bail procedure is going on, your advocates are here, we are doing your procedure. By the time, after this, we don't know whether you will visit to police station of Khar or no, please have and respect us. This was the line had told by the police cops, the cops of Khar police station, and this video is that. I am asking to release them that video when they have put both of us, Ravi ji and myself, to a lockup, where they have told us that your bail procedure is going on and we are shifting to Santa Cruz police station, and there will make you sit in the cabin of PI and you will spend your whole night in that cabin. And sudden enough, they are doing medical and then they are putting us, shifting us to the lockup. And whole night, sir. I'm a female, sir. And I live in India. No woman can ever dream, ki we'll go to lockup one day or we'll be putting behind the bars. Because of what? Chanting Hanuman Chalisa. Sir, in that jail, in the lockup, whole night, sir, after 12 o'clock, I was standing like this till 5:30, 5:45 in the morning.
Why?
Can you imagine, sir?
But why were you standing?
They were not provided me a single mat, sir. No water was provided to me in the night. And sudden off, without any crime, if somebody puts you in behind the lockup and jail, and then in sudden of morning you come to know कि you are on you it is Deshdroh ka offense is there, 124 is sedition. Sir, as a normal person, as a woman, that 1 second of thinking comes to your mind, what I have done? Why this offense comes on me? What actually I have done? I have to, all the notice, whatever the notice as provided by the cop in Mumbai, 149, I was so respecting that notice. I was there at home. I didn't move out from my house. And sudden off, when you put it into a lockup, you have that 1 second thinking what I have done. And 6 hours without providing you mat, sir, for a ladies. That much humanity you should have. And that everything Uddhav Thackeray has forgotten, sir. It is very sad, very unfortunate that we've got a CM, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, in his face.
And then when you come out, you bring in his family and said, when you're not in power, if this happens to somebody in your family, you will realize what this means. Is that a threat?
See, threat has given by Uddhav Thackeray to me and to my husband. Threat has given by Shiv Sainik's Gunda, what they have sent to my house, throwing stones, throwing bottles, giving all these shit words they have used for me and for my husband, sir. They have thrown water bottles, stones to my house where my small kids are there. My old parents parents live in that house. So threat has been given from their side. The Sanjay Raut, the Rajya Sabha member, in open conference, press conference, he says, we'll put both of them under 20 feet of this ground. This is the word has been used by them, sir. This is not the threat. I just ask as a female, as the feelings what I felt in the jail and the lockup. Ki once, now you're misusing your power against a woman like this, because she was supposed to chant Hanuman Chalisa, against this you're using this. And once the power goes from you, and any person from your house, like Rashmi Thackeray ji, if she's put in behind the bar, that time I'll ask how a husband feels about a female, his wife, how a mother, father feels about her daughter, how a mother-in-law, father-in-law feels about her daughter-in-law, how the kids feels about mother, who's there without any crime, if they have put in her behind the bar.
What happened to you? What happened in 14 days in jail?
See, I'll tell you.
Because the images that we saw when you came out, I mean, you broke down when your husband
See, that is my feeling for my husband, sir. Every woman who stays with their husband, life partner, we've got all the feelings because husband treat their wife like a small kid. The fight what I have faced in my life, this 14 days, it was torture totally, sir. 27th of April, when the doctor came to jail and he got checked, and he wrote and gave she's got a history and she is in pain. She should be taken to the hospital for a CT and X-ray that has given by the doctor of jail. You should immediately provide her this facility, otherwise she will be in a problem. This was the word as told by the doctor in the jail. But sir, till the time I didn't get bail on 4th May, as soon as the it came all over television that she got bail, and that time they forcefully, the jail provision, all the officers, all the cops, they were forcing me to come to the hospital, sir. This was injustice in the jail. But only one thing was supported in the jail, who gave me confidence, it was Hanuman Chalisa. I read every single day Hanuman Chalisa in jail. And the ladies, the female who were under trial in the jail, they were also supporting, they were also motivating, don't be weak, we all are there with you. You did very good. They all were chanting Hanuman Chalisa in the bar, in their cell, and they were supporting me, sir. That was the only strength what I was getting inside, because I have no connectivity. I had no connectivity with anyone, with my husband, nor with my kids. They were asking, Mama, why you went to jail? Who will give the answer?
You almost had a tear in your eye when you were talking about your time in jail. So, and you were in tears when you came out. Did the state government succeed in breaking your will to fight? I mean,
no.
Are you a broken person?
No, I'm not. The time I came from hospital, I was admitted for 4 days, sir. I took all the treatment. I did every possible thing, but I cannot. Nobody can break me so easily in 14 days, sir. I'm a fighter. I cannot be scared of someone who has not worked in their life on themselves. They have always used somebody's name to come on this position. I have made my life and I am here on my work, hard working, in every single pain from 7th standard, sir, I have worked hard for this life. And future also, I'm going to serve my people, I'm going to serve for farmers, I'm going to serve for youngsters, I'm going to serve for every single person who are there in Maharashtra and my India.
Where do you stand on sedition now?
See, that's what. Do you think I have done some crime as a sedition offense should be there on me?
I mean, that's for courts to decide, courts
See,
of law to decide.
Court has given that order, sir. The time they have given me bail in 13-14 days, they have clearly mentioned in my order that this sedition doesn't apply on them. They have not done anything like this, that 124A sedition should be applicable on them. Because of that reason, they have given us bail. Otherwise, 3 months was no bail. It was non-bailable offense. And when we are getting bail, that means we have not done a crime according to this sedition.
So, is Navneet Rana's politics going to be all about chanting the Hanuman Chalisa and taking on Uddhav Thackeray? I mean, are you going to contest against him? Is that your challenge to him? You've been talking on those lines.
See, I am not all over Hanuman Chalisa chanting or Shri Ram or Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj or Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Yes, they are goddess. We believe that beliefs will be always there with me till my last breath. And leaving this subject, when I am there on ground, 2,200 villages, sir. I have roamed single villages of my district and I have won this election. And because of that, I have asked Uddhav Thackeray ji to answer for this. When he wants this position to become CM, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, then he should come on ground, because Modi ji, whenever he became CM, he became Prime Minister of India, he contested and then he came on this position. If you want that chair to be there with you, then you should come on ground, serve people on ground and then take that position. That would be a different fun. And I am asking him to contest and I'll be there in front of you.
So you will directly take on Uddhav Thackeray in Maharashtra elections. Is that what your strategy intends to be? And will you be then fighting on a BJP ticket?
See, that's what I'm saying. Today I am independent. In Tsunami also, in Modi ji's Tsunami, if I can win with my hard working, with my all dedication to all my people, 100% Uddhav Thackeray cannot move for 2.5 years from his house to CM's office.
But that's because of Corona and a lot of other, those were COVID times.
See, in COVID times, we also worked hard. We went in between people. We went, visited to the hospital. We met to that people. We have seen all the problems what people were facing, sir. Prime Minister was alert. The Home Minister was alert. He was on ground. Devendra Fadnavis was every single district he's visited, sir. It was not only for Uddhav Thackeray who was facing COVID. Every single person, you were not working. You were working, sir. You came to your studio. You did your shows. You interviewed so many people. That was your work.
So if he was working from home, you know.
See, Maharashtra doesn't work like this, sir. In politics, you have to be there in between people. People needs you that time. People want you to be there with them in their difficult time. And Uddhav Thackeray was not even a single day, not a single hour. He was there with people when people of Maharashtra, they were needed a CM from Maharashtra with them on that difficult period.
You know, you talk about Jai Shri Ram and you talk about the Hanuman Chalisa, and suddenly we see Akbaruddin Owaisi of the AIMIM going to Aurangzeb's mazar and praying there and then talking about that. What kind of politics are we seeing in our country and what's happening in Maharashtra?
See, somebody who comes to Maharashtra and Aurangzeb ki mazar pe he is going and he is praying. I think Aurangzeb in Maharashtra, Maharashtrian people, we believe in Sambhaji Maharaj. We pray for him. He's a Maharaj. He's a goddess for us, and we believe in him. Anybody comes from any other state and comes to Maharashtra and he shows his power, that only works in Uddhav Thackeray's government. This never happened before in Maharashtra, sir. और हमारे महाराष्ट्र में ये आगे से होने नहीं देंगे, जिसको हम मानते हैं, जिसको भगवान मानते हैं, उसके दुश्मन के कब्र पे जाके अगर कोई फूल चढ़ाता है, हार चढ़ाता है, तो ये महाराष्ट्र की जनता उसे बर्दाश्त नहीं करेगी. अगर उद्धव ठाकरे इज गॉट दैट मच गट्स, ही शुड ब्रेक हिम. अगर यही बाला साहेब ठाकरे रहते तो उसी मजार के अंदर, उसी कब्र में उस व्यक्ति को गाड़ के दिखाते कि हिंदुत्ववादी और छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज को मानने वाले लोग आज भी महाराष्ट्र में जिंदा है. एंड दैट उद्धव ठाकरे हैज नॉट स्पोकन अ सिंगल वर्ड ऑन दिस एंड ही इज टेलिंग क्या जरूरत है. Why Aurangabad name should be changed to Sambhaji Maharaj?
What is your take on that?
See, that's what
should
I'm
Aurangabad
saying.
be called Sambhaji Nagar?
Yes, Sambhaji Nagar, it should be changed. It should, and it has to, and it will in future. That is, I'm saying on television, sir. We believe in Sambhaji Maharaj, we don't believe in Aurangzeb. The enemy of Maharashtra, we don't believe in them. और ये नाम change होना चाहिए. इनके ही एजेंडे में था. They have only spoken कि we'll change this name to Sambhaji Maharaj, and yesterday he's talking on the stage.
So who inherits Bala Saheb Thakre's legacy? Is it Uddhav Thakre? Is it Raj Thakre? Or do we now see Navneet Rana also make an entry? You're also praising Devendra Fadnavis. So is there now like a big fight to inherit Bala Saheb's legacy?
See, I'll tell you one thing, talking about Devendra ji, the way he took Maharashtra in 5 years, the progress has done by Devendra ji is unbelievable. Nobody has dreamed about it. In that 5 years, so much progress has done by Devendra ji. Still, he's working so hard, dedicated to Maharashtra. I'm always there with him. People who works good for Maharashtra, we both, Ravi ji and we both, stands with him. And if you talk about Thakre's family, yesterday he spoke on Sabha rally, कि somebody is getting dream of Bala Saheb Thakre in his dream. He's thinking कि Bala Saheb has come in his dream and he'll become like Bala Saheb and all. And he spoke about Munna Bhai MBBS. If you remember that movie, sir, yeah. Sanjay Dutt's movie, it is very appealing, and we saw that movie when we were not this age. And we saw that movie, and yesterday when he was talking on that, कि उनके सपने में आता है, मुझे लगता है सपना सच भी हो जाता है. And Munna Bhai MBBS was a super hit movie. अगर आज उनको सपने में अगर बाला साहब आ रहे हैं तो वो हिट ना हो जाए इसकी चिंता जरूर करनी चाहिए उद्धव ठाकरे ने. आप तो फ्लॉप हो ही. You are in a flop position. If his dream becomes true, then you will come into that disastrous line. You should think about that. What is the problem between you and between them?
So what next for Navneet Rana?
See, I always work for people. I'm here to serve people. I will always work and serve to my people who needs me, who want me to work for them on a ground level, for my farmers, for my youngsters, for their jobs. I'm going to stand with that. And Navneet never thinks about future. I always work for today. I don't waste my time for unnecessary reasons. I just work, work, work. That is all Navneet is all about.
For joining me here on India Today, Navneet Rana, many thanks.
Thank you so much.
Lanka in flames. Civil war looms.
We are in hopeless in our future.
The only Indian channel reporting from the ground zero.
Food, fuel, medicine, everything is high and many of them are in shortage, which is a huge concern.
India Today, the gold standard of journalism.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
Rahul Kanwal,
23 years of experience.
5 conflicts covered, unmatched time in war zone. the first embedded operation in the history of Indian television journalism.
Gaurav Sawant, 28 years of reporting, 8 conflicts covered, unmatched hours in conflict areas.
Actual firing is taking place, the grads are firing.
Shivarur, 19 years of reporting, 5 conflicts covered, unmatched view of international crossfires.
And the attack guns are firing away.
Geeta Mohan, 18 years of reporting, 3 conflicts covered. When the world is at war, there is no compromise on India today.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today.
Well, you've seen many an EV on Tech Today, but what really goes in designing and building an EV, especially at MG here in London? Also, a top conversation with a top cybersecurity expert, Chris Novak. All that and a lot more as Tech Today says Namaste London.
Action. Well, I've always wanted to do that on Tech Today, but this is a very special episode where I'm your host Ayush Alavadi and I'm here in London. Now, you must have seen a bunch of EVs on the show. In fact, most recently, you saw the MG ZS EV. A lot of you all wrote into us telling us how you fancied that particular model and how it looks good in electric red. So we thought if you really like the design of that car, then maybe we should get you to the headquarters where all the design elements were put together by our next guest, Carl Gotham. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
So Carl, I don't know if you caught our last episode with the MG ZS EV, and we had quite a good time with it, but something that really piqued my interest was the design. And I thought that's a great way to start this conversation with you. You know, I look at these EVs and the EV revolution that we're talking about in India and around the world, and a lot of cars seem to be looking a lot more futuristic. I don't know if it's the Elon Musk revolution around the world and what Tesla did, but even with MGs, we're seeing a certain design language. Is that well thought out? And is that something which varies from region to region, or is that something that happens here in London and then is spread across the world?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. And with ZS in particular, ZS EV, that was kind of designed as a global car for the brand. So MG's obviously on its future journey. You know, it's coming up to 100 years old, but actually as a brand, it's very much about facing the future again and moving into this kind of really exciting territory of electrification. So the design for that really was, it's a global car and it's selling really well everywhere at the moment in India and in the UK. I think this week MG India have announced 100,000 cars sales in 3 years. So it's so the brand's doing very well. So it's there to reflect this kind of move, transition from combustion engine into this future of electrification.
You know, you set up this Psych Design Centre, which is essentially where all the innovation's happening here in the heart of London. And we thought we need to focus a lot more on innovation here in London. Why are so many companies, especially the ones focusing a lot more on design language in the tech world, in the auto world, really looking at London as a hub for this?
Well, I mean, London's always been a very creative kind of capital of the world. It's, you know, it's where the fashion industry is very prevalent and the arts. Theatres are everywhere. There's loads of beautiful architecture, and it's all very different. It's very sort of diverse. So I think being in a place like London gives the designers, myself and the design team, the kind of exposure to lots of different inputs and experiences, and it's very rich and colourful. So how can that not be inspiring?
Absolutely, Carl. You know, we've tried to get as much color as we could on this shoot, and even though this is a top secret location, we've tried to, you know, intersperse a few elements out here. You have a big bunch of VR offerings out here. There's a whole bunch of mock-ups. What happens here at the SAIC Design Studio?
Yeah, well, we're an advanced design studio as part of SAIC Motors, so the parent company of MG Motor, and yeah, our remit is really sort of at the front end of the process. So we're here to sort of research and get that kind of context of global trend and what consumers are looking for in the future, and we're exploring what that future sort of design language and trends looks like for the brands that we work for. So of course MG's one of the main ones that we do work for.
So in terms of MG coming up with a supercar, is that something that's in the works?
Well, the model behind you, possibly the audience can see just to the right hand side of yourself, was a concept that we developed 2 years ago. It was shown last year at Shanghai Auto Show. So that's going through into production, and it will be a bit of a flagship for the future vision of the brand. You know, the sporting heritage, but with this kind of very forward-facing electric technology. Right. So yeah, we're very excited about that car.
What do you really foresee in terms of the design language for these cars? Are they going to get, look, with EVs coming out there, obviously storage and luggage changes, the battery pack changes things compared to combustion engines, but this shift to EVs, how much does that change the design language of the car?
Well, it changes a lot of aspects from proportion of vehicles in terms of the way they're laid out, as you've sort of mentioned, you know, where the batteries are going, where the motors are going. We haven't got a big lump in the front of the car anymore. We've got a big engine, so you know, that does drive a lot of proportional change. In terms of sort of brand language, obviously identity, you know, we all identify a car brand with its face and its grille and so forth, but we don't need big grills anymore. So so a lot of, you know, there's a lot of kind of exploration about how do you convey the message of a brand without a big face, you know. So and in terms of surface language, absolutely that is changing to a much more kind of clean aesthetic, you know, more simplified, a cleaner language to represent the clean technology really. So yeah, so there's lots of things happening.
But you know, one challenge that we faced, and we always face it when we have EVs on the show, and I've been trying to search all over London and see what the situation's like, is this sense of range anxiety that everyone talks about, right? In terms of how much do I need to top up or really, you know, fill up the gas tank, so to speak, to actually last on an EV. Now, I know you understand the design and the tech space really well. Is that something as a consumer in London that MG is working on a lot as well? Because in India, sometimes we struggle to find charging stations.
No, it's a real issue, and I think for you know, for a kind of city like London that's very well established, you know, it's there's not a lot you can do with the infrastructure because it's been here for a long time. So it's quite a challenge. It is a challenge for sure, and I know lots of people that own EVs in London. You know, they have that sort of practical issue of where to charge it. I think range anxiety itself is becoming less of an issue because I think people are becoming more familiar with what their cars can do. Obviously battery technology is improving all the time, but actually the reality is that people don't need a car to do more than, you know, 150 miles really in one trip average anyway. So but of course the next few years we're going to see those ranges extend massively. So yeah.
You know, it's kind of interesting now when we look at some of these iconic brands, especially here in England, Jaguar Land Rover, and then there's an India connection for them, and then with MG, there's a connection in China as well. When you view it as from an auto industry perspective, does it really change the way these companies think in terms of innovation when we actually have a change of ownership from the legacy owners?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key there is it's about entering new markets. It's about entering markets that are growing really quickly. As we know, obviously China has done in the last 15 years. It's exploded to become the biggest market in the world. Obviously India is growing year on year and is getting into the top volume markets in the world. So actually for any manufacturer, it's a new playing field. It's getting used to new customers, new requirements, new environments, new conditions, which for a designer is a very interesting prospect because it means you've got to think about something new. So yeah, I think it's definitely an important factor for any of those OEMs, and I think what you're seeing in the industry is there's a lot of change. There's a lot of companies that have been doing things one way for a long time are having to change, they're having to sort of progress and get out of their comfort zone. So,
Carl, you were talking about emerging markets, and an issue we face with a lot of EVs that we've been driving on Indian roads, and we were the first to drive a Tesla on Indian roads as well, which is quite a rare occurrence. One issue that we face, and especially with Teslas, because they've gone to so many markets, and the ground clearance doesn't seem to change. And that's quite a cumbersome task when you're driving on Indian roads, because you've got to slalom your way across breakers and stuff like that. When you're coming up with a car at MG, and maybe it's specifically for the Indian market or for emerging markets, do you consider these sort of things, which are region specific?
Yes.
Sort of?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work goes into homologating cars for various markets. So, so they're not. The way they ride and handle, is different from market to market because of the requirements and how people drive their cars. So I think you might, having spent some time in London, see how people drive here. People tend to drive quite fast. They like the cars to handle relatively well, so they tend to be on the stiffer side, which obviously doesn't suit road conditions that are obviously of a poorer quality, let's say. So yeah, I think every market needs to be considered so that we're not making exactly the same car for every single market.
Carl, absolute pleasure having you with us on Tech Today. Thanks so much for this Tech Geek's perspective on what's happening in the EV space and what's really happening, well, when it comes to design. And the next time, perhaps, when we do this conversation, maybe it'll be in an MG supercar in Mumbai.
Yes, let's hope so. Yeah,
absolute pleasure. Thanks so much, man. Take care.
Okay, you got me in the act. Look, if you take a tech geek and you leave him on a set with so many gadgets, something that looks like this in the middle of your office, what do you expect? Clearly, you need to give me some time to really review this and maybe do it on a subsequent episode, or maybe just take a break. So why don't you take a break, let me enjoy, and there's a lot more on this London special. See you soon.
Watching India Today.
The South African scientists who identified Omicron late last year have now reported 2 more Omicron subvariants, BA4 and BA5.
watching India Today. You are watching India Today.
Welcome back to Tech Today, guys. I'm your host, Ayush Alavadi, and I hope you're enjoying our special coverage here from London. Now, as soon as I get to a new city, the first thing I do as a tech geek is find fellow tech geeks. And in my search and hunt here in London, I ended up at the Verizon 5G labs and caught up with one of the world's top cybersecurity experts, Chris Novak. We spoke about cybersecurity being a borderless problem, of course, what the blockchain means, and where does India lie in the equation. Have a look. Chris, I'd like to start off by asking you, we've been talking about 5G all day, but when you start viewing things from a security perspective, how much has the threat landscape evolved in an era of 5G?
Sure, yeah. So when we look at 5G, I kind of look at it as analogous to the start of the internet, where we had all these devices that now are starting to get connected, and all of that means we need to protect it. We need to wrap cybersecurity around it in order to keep those assets, applications, and data safe. With 5G, we're now able to add more in terms of connectivity. We're able to make everything faster, but it also means we need to deploy cybersecurity to all of those new endpoints as well. So while it may present an increased challenge in terms of there's more work to be done, it also presents an increased opportunity, as it means that our security tools will be able to connect faster. We're able to connect data from further off places. So I think there's a big upside to everybody as it relates to cybersecurity on 5G.
So Chris, when we're talking about 5G, that seems to be one element. The other buzzwords seem to be crypto, NFTs, the metaverse. When you look at these emerging technologies, do you see, from your experience and your lens, a larger threat, a larger cybersecurity threat?
Yeah, so I'd say the metaverse does present new threats, and I think part of it is it's a concept that most individuals and organizations haven't really contemplated what that looks like from a cybersecurity perspective. It's so new for so many, right? If you also mentioned things like crypto and NFT, these are also, for the average person, very new concepts. For most businesses, very new concepts. Unless you are laser focused and this is your area, you're probably not even thinking about it. And the challenge that presents, kind of think of it going back to the early days of like .com, for example. Most organizations had no idea what cybersecurity was. And so it led to a lot of these organizations being hacked and breached and data getting out. I think the same risk exists for metaverse, NFT, crypto, where it is so new that in many cases, cybersecurity is usually an afterthought. And so there is inherent and I think increased risk until there's broader awareness and adoption.
Chris, you've also worked extensively with the Biden administration on a White House committee as well. Tell us more about some of that work and also tell us about how the US is really looking at some of these problems, because cybersecurity, as we know, is a borderless problem. A problem for you in the US could end up for us in India a few months later. So when you look at these things, are you looking at it from more of a macro, bigger picture view?
Yeah, so great points all around, and thank you around the Cybersecurity Safety Review Board. So that is actually an initiative where the concept is much like in the US, we have something called the National Transportation Safety Board. And I say it's a great analogy because that was created in the 1960s to help us make transportation safer, whether it be cars, trains, planes. And over the course of the 50, 60, 70 years that followed, all of those modes of transportation have only gotten safer for all of us. And so now what we've done is say, okay, let's build the same kind of concept for cyber, because cyber is now, we used to call it the information superhighway, right? It is essentially a form of infrastructure for a lot of what we do today. And so it requires the same level of review, oversight, and then also when we see incidents happen there, the objective of the board is to investigate those incidents and be able to provide recommendations and feedback to the president on what new public policy initiatives might be valuable in helping to reduce risk and limit the likelihood of future similar incidents. Essentially make the cyber information superhighway safer for all of us.
Chris, another thing I want to speak to you about is how a lot of us have been working from home over the past couple of years, now working from anywhere for millennials and Gen Z, and everyone now essentially looks at it as a hybrid workforce. Maybe this is here to stay, but a lot of organizations had to do this overnight. Now, when things happen too fast, sometimes there are issues. Do you see concerns with all of this work from home sort of situation happening overnight?
Yeah, so that is a big concern for us. In fact, I have a lot of conversations with chief information security officers and chief security officers about that exact problem. And it's interesting because when we look back at the dynamic of what happened during the course of the pandemic, one of the challenges most of them said was, if you were to tell me that I needed to move my entire organization remote and I needed to do it in 2 or 3 weeks, I'd tell you it was impossible. Can't be done. But yet during the pandemic, nearly everybody did it. Some maybe a little longer than others, but most organizations would tell you if they were going to make that a project, it'll be a 2 or 3 year project, not a 2 or 3 week project. So there's a tremendous amount of concern around the effectiveness of it and the security of it, what might have been missed, what corners have been cut. And then also the other challenge you have is, as people went and worked from home, you also have a lot of individuals that are trying to find ways to keep their job going. They say, well, you know what? If my company didn't provide me with a laptop, maybe I go out and get one of my own, or maybe I use a personal one, for example. And so that introduces new types of threats to the enterprise that the enterprise wasn't prepared for, wasn't ready for. And then honestly, the converse of that is you have organizations now that are starting to return people back to the office, and they're now trying to deal with that as well. And if you look at it through the lens of someone in security, the challenge they face is they're trying to look for anomalies, unusual behavior that might indicate something is amiss. Everything over the last couple of years has been unusual behavior for us because we're not going to the office like we were. Maybe now we're returning to the office part-time, we're working remote, maybe we're working remote from an alternate location. All of these things are red flags for security, but they're now considered normal. So it also means that there's a higher likelihood that when a red flag goes off and it's really a concern, security may miscategorize it and think it's nothing.
Chris, we spoke about NFTs and crypto earlier in the metaverse, and all of this really is contingent on one thing, the blockchain. Now, when I speak to a lot of people in the cybersecurity community, there's some of them who are pro and some of them who are against the blockchain as a cybersecurity tool. Some people say it's even better than end-to-end encryption. Now, the way the blockchain is built, I'd like to get your view because you're one of the world's leading cybersecurity experts. Is the blockchain an effective tool for cybersecurity management?
Yeah, so I would say that blockchain has a role it can play in cybersecurity. I don't think it is the silver bullet for cybersecurity. I think that the individuals who feel that it plays a role or is something that can be used, they're looking at it from the standpoint of being able to have an immutable record source. When we look at security, we want to have audit trails. We want to be able to know what someone does, when they did it, where they did it, and if we can, why they did that. And the more we can have good, solid records of that, the better we can identify when there might be something suspicious or malicious happening, as well as if something gets past us and we have an incident to investigate, having something that might be blockchain based will give us resiliency in terms of that underlying data. We'll have essentially a breadcrumb trail we can follow of evidence. Without something like blockchain, we can still have traditional evidence sources, but the challenge that exists with those evidence sources is there's a greater potential for them to be lost or corrupted that ultimately could result in us not being able to fulfill that obligation, right? We might miss a security threat, or we might not be able to do a full, complete, comprehensive investigation as we'd like. Now, obviously, all that being considered, we haven't had blockchain as part of security for most of our cybersecurity landscape or journey up until this point, and we've obviously done very well. So I look at blockchain as something that we could use as an enhancement as we go forward to make that all much more improved.
Chris Novak, thanks so much for joining us on Tech Today.
My pleasure.
Well, for the last couple of years, a lot of us have worked from home, and now as we enter this hybrid workforce, a lot of us want to work from anywhere. Me, for instance, from here in London. So if you're actually doing that and signing into office or trying to work from a cafe, how do you make tech jugaad work for you? And especially if you want to figure out work-life balance. Well, if all these things matter to you, then catch this special report from our reporter, Shivan.
You know, how often does it happen that you're in the middle of a Zoom call, or you're in the middle of an online seminar or online session, online meeting, and then suddenly someone calls you and everything gets disrupted. You don't want to put your phone on D&D and the calls are coming in and you're getting disturbed. There is a way, there is a tech hack, there is a secret code which you can put in your phone with which you can access all the features of your phone. You'll have your 4G intact and your Wi-Fi connectivity intact, but anyone trying to call you will get this message saying that your number is unavailable and you will know who's calling you to. So the way to do it is fairly simple, and this secret code can be applied on Android and iOS devices. So all you need to do is go on to your Calls app. Once you're on the Calls app, start punching in the code. So you're going to start with a *21* and then 10 times 1 and then hashtag. dial it down. Now you will get a pop-up saying that call forwarding has been activated. Now what happens with this code is a kind of call forwarding which leads the caller to a pre-recorded note saying that your number that you're dialing is unavailable. So I've put in the code. Now I'm going to try calling my number from another phone to tell you exactly what it's going to sound like.
The number you have dialed is invalid. Please check the number you have dialed. आपके द्वारा डायल किया गया नंबर अमान्य है. कृपया डायल किए गए नंबर की जांच कर लें.
So my phone is pretty much active, but anyone calling me right now will hear this message that the number is invalid. Where you are, whether you're in the flight, whether you're traveling, whether you're unavailable, nobody knows, but you can access your phone and you can access all the other apps on your phone, whether it's 4G, whether it's Wi-Fi, whatever. So as soon as you punch in this code, you also see that call forwarding symbol on the top left of the screen if you're using an iPhone. Okay, so you've used the code and you want to get past it now. You want to come back to normal functionality of the phone. So what do you do? There is another code for that with which you eliminate this entire setting. So you go back to your calls app and here you need to punch in hashtag 002 hashtag. That's the code, fairly simple and small, and just dial on this again. When you dial on this, it will tell you that call forwarding has been removed and that call forwarding symbol on the top left will also vanish simultaneously. Now, if someone calls you, the call will come through and it's up to you whether you want to answer it or not. So there are plenty of tricks that we have in our pocket for you. We're going to tell you everything in the weeks to come only on the Tech Today show.
See, I told you, Tech Jugaad works in Mumbai, works in Delhi, and of course, it works here in London. That's something I might be using, especially if you're working from home. I hope you've enjoyed this show. We spoke to Chris Novak, one of the world's top cybersecurity experts. And of course, we gave you all there is from the MG London special. Well, if you've liked the show, then do write in to us and subscribe to our social media pages. Until next week, adios.
You are watching India Today.
The Ukraine-Russia crisis is ongoing after a month. Russia confirmed that it had fired a new hypersonic missile during bombing raids in the city of Mariupol. But what are hypersonic weapons? How do they attack the target? Considered the next generation of weapons, these missiles are characterized by their ability to travel at speeds of more than Mach 5, or 5 times the speed of sound. There are two types, the hypersonic cruise missile and the hypersonic glider. The latter is carried by a ballistic missile. The glider separates from its missile to reach the upper atmosphere above 50 kilometers. Then it hovers at hypersonic speed towards its target along an unpredictable trajectory. Anti-missile or anti-aircraft defense systems. Without propulsion, it gradually decelerates and can perform evasive actions such as zigzags to reach its target by thwarting opponent interception systems. The cruise missile, meanwhile, has its own propulsion in the form of a ramjet with supersonic combustion. Once in flight, the missile moves at high speed before diving onto its target. This missile flies at a lower altitude than the glider at around 20 to 30 kilometers and can maneuver in full flight, which is its advantage.
You are watching India Today.
Hello, very good evening. You're watching India Today TV. I'm Sneha Mordani. Let's get you the headlines in this edition first. Congress huddles for its strategy for the 2024 elections. On its final day of brainstorming session, Chintan Shivir, Sonia and Rahul Gandhi deliver key speeches. Party chief Sonia assures Congress will overcome. Congress to launch nationwide yatra later this year. Day 2 of Gyan Vapi survey concludes today. Survey to continue tomorrow for 1 or 2 hours. Varanasi court to submit the final report on the 17th of May. Marathi actor arrested and attacked with ink for derogatory remark against Pawar. BJP Neta thrashed by NCP workers. Uddhav says duty to teach and lesson to those who insult. Amravati MP Navneet Rana attacks Uddhav Thackeray, says when he loses power and his wife Rashmi Thackeray is in jail, you will understand her plight, is what she says.
जिस दिन उद्धव ठाकरे मुख्यमंत्री नहीं रहेंगे, पावर चले जाएगा, उस दिन अगर रश्मि ठाकरे को जेल के पीछे डाला, तब उनको पूछूंगी मैं कि अब कैसा लगता है.
27 residents of Mundka in the western region in Delhi were charged to death on Thursday. Delhi police have arrested company owners Harish and Varun Goel, as well as the absconding building owner. 2 Sikhs have been butchered in Pakistan's Peshawar. Second such attack on the Sikh community at the same spot by unidentified gunmen in 8 months. Indian badminton team strips history, wins maiden Thomas Cup title by defeating 14-time champs Indonesia 3-0 in the final. India becomes the 6th nation to win the Thomas Cup today.
What an amazing match, surviving 4 match point opportunities.
Top story at this hour. Speaking exclusively to India Today, Amravati MP has sharpened her attacks on the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray. The Amravati MP launched a scathing attack on Uddhav, challenging the Shiv Sena chief to fight elections against her. Rana has said she was ill-treated in the police custody, also raising the issue of Aurangabad and demanded the name of the city be changed to Sambhaji Nagar now. This comes after a high-voltage Hanuman Chalisa Faceoff that took place in Maharashtra between the Sena and the BJP-backed Amravati lawmakers Navneet and Rana.
What trouble are you in that you wanted to recite the Hanuman Chalisa? Or are you in more trouble after reciting the Hanuman Chalisa?
See, nobody will be in trouble after chanting Hanuman Chalisa. The trouble is there on my Maharashtra in the name of Uddhav Thackeray ji. Because of that, my force was that now my Maharashtra farmers are in trouble. All jobless youngsters are in trouble. The electric department of Maharashtra is in trouble. But the trouble person who's got all the trouble to Maharashtra is not working a single step ahead in progress of my Maharashtra. Because of that, I wanted to chant Hanuman Chalisa in front of Uddhav Thackerayji's house.
But why? How would chanting Hanuman Chalisa outside Matoshri take care of all the problems that you are raising? Why not raise those issues either in Parliament or on any correct platform?
See, that's what I'm saying. The day I became Member of Parliament, I started representing my district, Amravati. The day when I entered to Lok Sabha, I started raising all the problems belongs to my district, Amravati, or from Maharashtra or either from India. If you watch that Lok Sabha speeches of mine, if you see, every single day I am there with some or the other problems facing by my people from Maharashtra and from my Amravati district. Farmers' issues are there. Adivasi tribal areas, people are facing so many problems from Maharashtra. So many youngsters are jobless after 2019. It is 3 times more jobless people are there in Maharashtra totally if you see. The electric department is facing so many problems. I have raised every single question, and I'm continue following up all that problems in my center, from my center government. I'm meeting every single minister. I'm meeting PM for the problems what my Maharashtra is facing, and particular about my Amravati, what we Amravatikers are in problem and trouble, and my farmers are in problems.
And yet you recite the Hanuman Chalisa, you want to recite the Hanuman Chalisa outside Matoshri. How does that solve any of the problems that you are raising?
See, I believe in Hanuman Chalisa chant, ki Sankat Mochan, when Sankat trouble comes to your life or either comes to Maharashtra, we believe that. If you chant Hanuman Chalisa, that trouble goes from your life. And I believe in that. If you chant, if the Mukhyamantri, CM chant Hanuman Chalisa, the trouble might go out and he should step out from Matoshri. That was my biggest question to Uddhav Thackeray, and because of only that reason, I was supposed to chant Hanuman Chalisa outside his residence.
Big controversy brewing with the independent MP from Amravati, Navneet Rana, launching a fresh attack on Uddhav Thackeray, saying that he will get an idea about how it is felt when one is behind bars if his wife, Rashmi Thackeray, is sent to jail. She also goes on to say that there is going to be a time when he's going to be out of power. She's launched several attacks on Uddhav Thackeray, talking about how he's going to fail if there were to be an electoral battle between her and Uddhav Thackeray. She's obviously been backed by the BJP, that's evident. Former Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has been openly supporting the Rana couple. More news from Maharashtra today. A Thane court has sent Marathi actor Ketki Chitale to police custody till the 18th of May over an alleged derogatory social media post against NCP Sharad Pawar. Chitale was attacked while taken into custody by police. She was being interrogated by police for posting these comments. Images of the ink attack went viral. 5 cases have been registered in Thane city against the Marathi actor, allegedly for sharing a post against Sharad Pawar. BJP leader Vinayak Ambedkar has also thrashed by NCP workers, been thrashed by NCP workers over a social media post against Pawar. NCP workers went to Ambedkar's office and beat him up. A complaint was lodged against them at the police station 2 days ago. NCP activist said he was beaten up for posting insulting remarks about Pawar.
बाई तिने शरद पवारांवरती कॉमेंट केली. फार विचित्र कॉमेंट आहे. काय घरी आई वडील आजी आजोबा भाऊ बहीण आहेत की नाही, संस्कार काय होतात की नाही तुमच्यावरती, संस्कार काय होतात की नाही. किती काही जरी झालं तर बाई तुझा संबंध काय, कोणावरती बोलतेस, काय बोलतेस. जर हे तुझं वक्तव्य असेल, तुझ्या मुलांचं काय होणार, ती काय होणार उद्या.
Let's get you more details of the Congress's Chintan Shivir. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi launched a scathing attack on the BJP and RSS on the last day of the Shivir in Udaipur, saying that they will fight the forces who spread hatred. He's targeted the government over inflation and unemployment, saying that unemployment rate is an all-time high and steps like demonetization and GST have broken the backbone of the economy. Speaking at the event, Congress interim chief Sonia Gandhi also hit out at the BJP and said the party is going to launch a national Kanyakumari to Kashmir Bharat Jodo Yatra from the 2nd of October, Gandhi Jayanti. BJP is hit back, saying that the grand old party should not be paying heed to its own failures, did not pay heed to its own failures in fact. Meanwhile, the Congress committee held a meeting to discuss and finalize resolutions submitted by the panel appointed. Some major decisions are likely to be included in the resolution submitted by the committee.
I also feel, and that has also been stated, that we must ensure the idea that one person per family should get a ticket. I know Venugopal has made a caveat to that, but I do think that it is very important that we limit the number of family members that are involved in our organization. Let them let them work, let them develop, and then let them join the organization. But we must not have a situation where 5 or 6 or 7 members of a family are in the organization. आज unemployment आज से ज्यादा कभी नहीं रहा है, और ये उनके आंकड़े हमारे आंकड़े नहीं है. क्यों? क्योंकि जो रीढ़ की हड्डी है, जो रोजगार पैदा करती है, उस रीढ़ की हड्डी को नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने, बीजेपी ने और उनकी विचारधारा ने तोड़ दिया है. नोटबंदी, जीएसटी ये लागू करके और पूरा का पूरा फायदा 2-3 बड़े उद्योगपतियों को देकर सरकार ने हिंदुस्तान के युवाओं के भविष्य को नष्ट कर दिया है. और आने वाले समय आपको देखने को मिलेगा, देश का युवा रोजगार नहीं पा पाएगा. एक तरफ बेरोजगारी, दूसरी तरफ महंगाई.
The yatra is to strengthen the bonds of social harmony that under severe stress and to preserve the foundational values of our constitution that are under assault. We will launch the national Kanyakumari to Kashmir Bharat Jodo Yatra beginning on Gandhi Jayanti this year.
मुझे तो लगा था कि कांग्रेस पार्टी के चिंतन शिविर से कुछ निकलेगा, लेकिन ये तो स्थिति इनकी है कि खुदा पहाड़ निकली चुहिया. अब पूरे चिंतन शिविर में कांग्रेस की अपनी नाकामियों की चिंता कम हुई, कांग्रेस की नकारात्मकता की चिंता कम हुई, कांग्रेस की इस बदहाली की चिंता कम हुई, और आज भी इसी घमंड में और इसी गुरूर में डूबे हुए हैं कि कांग्रेस इज कंट्री और कंट्री इज कांग्रेस.
Is getting us more details on that story. In fact, she's joining us from Udaipur for what is really on the cards when it comes to the Congress party's own plan, the road to recovery. What does it look like, Mosmi? For me, the biggest takeaway, and it does appear to correct me if I'm wrong, is that there has been no rethink when it comes to the big issue on, the big question on leadership. That continues to be a blank page essentially, doesn't it?
See, clearly if you see the entire Chintan Shivir, Sneha, happened without the real Chintan. The Chintan Shivir was quickly renamed as Nav Sankalp to in fact clearly indicate to the members that we are not going to do a post-mortem. We are going to talk about the future. But if the Congress does not address the issues that are plaguing the party, if you do not address why you have actually electorally failed to score a point and repeatedly failed, you're drawing a baggage of defeats and you're not addressing that it really defeats the purpose of why this Chintan Shivir. And that's one reason that if you see that the political committee talks about violence and hatred, it talks about China, it talks about Northeast, but it doesn't really talk about what is the political outcome of Congress's performance and how it has politically failed to in fact inspire and instill faith in the Aam Aadmi. So that perhaps was more because the big takeaway really is that the Chintan Shivir was in fact a way to relaunch Rahul Gandhi, perhaps show that you're rebooting the Congress party. Apart from Sonia Gandhi, it was only Rahul Gandhi who addressed the gathering, apart from the fact that the members of the panel addressed the media and the gathering. So Rahul Gandhi was the only leader and MP who addressed the gathering, and this comes close on the heels of the elections that are happening. Yashomati ji is just right here. She's the leader from Maharashtra. Yashomati ji, what is the big takeaway from your Chintan Shivir?
Bharat Jodo Andolan.
मेरे समझ से यही सबसे बड़ी बात है, बिकॉज एवरीबडी इज इन द सेंटर, इज ट्राइंग टू ब्रेक and divide, where we as congressmen are trying to say that that's not our culture, that's not our fabric. We are here born to unite people, we are here to spread love, and that is the fabric of the country.
The question that Sneha was also asking, what about the leadership issue, the fact that, Rahul Gandhi, whether he's going to take up the baton, whether he's going to contest, that still remains a grey area. There are demands of making Priyanka Gandhi the president if Rahul is not.
See, I don't know why people outside the Congress are so much into what we are doing. See, here this was a Sankalp Shibir, and Sankalp for संकल्प से सृष्टि तक, तो सृष्टि तक हमें जाना है, प्यार हमें बढ़ाना है, और people who are spreading hate, we want to go beyond that, because that is what India is.
So here you are, Sneha, the congressmen and women are actually masters in evading the real question. That's what the Congress has been doing for so many years, past 8 years, and that's the reason why the Congress is where it is. But the other big takeaway really was about the one family, one ticket, addressing the dynastic party allegations. That also had a rider to it. You had one man, one post that the party is talking about. So they are trying to regroup and send a message of a new Congress. But really, the messaging will really lie in the implementation of things. Sonia Gandhi has made a task force. Yes, one thing was clear, that Sonia Gandhi will remain in action mode. She will participate in the yatra that is being planned from Gandhi Jayanti. She gave a speech and she was in her elements.
Yes,
it was an emotive speech, and Rahul Gandhi looked not so much in his elements in terms of the fact that he really skirted the main issues of the allegations of the electoral failure. So it remains to be seen that whether Congress can really regroup from here, Sneha.
Yes, Mosmi, the answers that we've got from the Congress workers there is just giving me a sense of deja vu. I feel nothing really has changed since 2014. Similar answers coming in. Why are outsiders so interested in what's really going on in the Congress party? The big question is the leadership issue in the Congress, and that continues to remain unaddressed. Mosmi, I'm thanking you for the moment. We'll come back to you for more on that developing story. It's time for a quick break. Here on the other side, it's a historic win for India today, a victory for the Indian badminton team. We're getting you all the details and reactions on how India won the Thomas Cup today in just 2 minutes.
You are watching India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com or call 9999892171.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today. You are watching India Today.
The Indian men's badminton team has etched its name in history by winning their first ever Thomas Cup. India blanked 14-time champions Indonesia 3-0 to clinch their maiden Thomas Cup crown. With the win over Indonesia, India became the only sixth nation in history to win the cup. This was also India's first ever Thomas Cup victory in 73 years of its existence. India dished out a performance for the ages with Lakshya Sen and Kidambi Srikanth winning their singles matches, and sandwiched between the triumphs was the come from behind victory for doubles pair of Satvik Sairaj and Chirag Shetty. Wishes poured in from all quarters, with the Prime Minister among those who congratulated the men's team for their unbelievable feat. Meanwhile, Sports Minister Anurag Thakur announced a cash prize of 1 crore rupees for the team. The whole country is ecstatic after the momentous win in the Thomas Cup. Listen in to some of the reactions on India's unbelievable triumph. In fact, we're being joined by the father of Kidambi Srikanth. Thank you so much for your time, sir, and many, many congratulations. Your son has, in fact, done the country proud. What's your first reaction?
It's very happy to see that India wins the Thomas Cup after starting of the Thomas Cup after 73 years, I think. My son being a part in it, and it's very happy for us as a parents, and as an Indian, it's very proud to be enjoy the Thomas Cup win.
Yes. Sir, did you expect this to happen today? Did you think that India is going to do the impossible? This is the first win in 73 years, essentially, and India's biggest badminton triumph so far.
Actually, everything goes according to the lines written by God, but we can't think in advance. But overall, if you see, doubles is the critical match, which they won in for there and giving the India advantage, and also Lakshya Sen also giving the advantage by winning in the first game, first set. So Srikanth being head-to-head 5-4 leading in Agnes Christie.
I think it's huge. I think for India to get to the get to that stage itself was huge. I think to beat Malaysia in the quarterfinals and to beat Denmark in a close match, I think just showed the character of the team. And actually, once you start off well, and that's where I think the first match was very critical. I think once you start off well and then the momentum is with you, I think it just makes that so much tougher for the opposition to come back. And that's what happened. Actually, Satvik and Chirag actually piled up the pressure and just stayed on close enough, and that was very important. And where it really mattered, I think they just played well. And I think it was amazing to see Srikanth because each one of those matches was really close. And we just needed now this team to actually pull those through. And I'm happy that the entire team came together as a unit and played wonderfully well. I think Pranoy has done exceptionally well in the last two matches. He didn't get a chance to prove himself again, but a 3-love win today was fantastic.
It was a very big stage considering Thomas Cup finals for the first time in 73 years almost. Incredible. I mean, the way the boys have, held on to their nerves. I think each player, the way, if you have to even talk about today's match or even the previous matches they have played in this tournament, they've really put their heart out. And that's what, we have seen, the sort of maturity in the players, the sort of, confidence when they were going on the court. I think this is incredible, and this is really good for the players and for the coming generations also. And I think it's a very, very big moment, to be honest. I mean, I'm just being a little speechless and losing on words, but it is very, very big, yeah.
Shifting focus to some terrible news that has come in today. Aussie cricket legend Andrew Symonds has passed away at the age of 46 in a car accident. A cult figure in the cricket fraternity, Symonds has been instrumental in many victories for Australia in the early 2000s. Here's a look at the illustrious career of the Aussie star.
Pull shot. Oh, and what a shot that was.
A born entertainer.
That was hit like a rocket back down the other end.
A man full of life.
100 for Andrew Symonds.
And above all, a cricketer par excellence.
Roy the Destroyer is on the march.
Andrew Symonds, the legendary Australian all-rounder, has left us for the heavenly abode at a young age of 46. The two-time World Cup winner was killed about 50 kilometers from Townsville in Queensland in a single car crash. Paramedics arrived at the scene but could not revive the former Australian cricketer, who was the only person in the car.
And it gives me great pleasure.
The cricket fraternity is in mourning. Former teammate and colleague from Adam Gilchrist led tributes. He said, and I quote, "Think of your most loyal, fun-loving friend who would do anything for you. That's Roy," unquote. He tweeted. Darren Lehman, Symonds' former teammate and friend, tweeted, "Look after yourself up there, great man." The god of cricket, Sachin Tendulkar, recalled fond memories with Symonds during his stint with Mumbai Indians. Off-spinner Yuzvendra Chahal paid homage to the all-rounder by calling him family. Symonds was third former Australian cricketer to tragically pass away in 2022 after champion leg spinner Shane Warne and former wicketkeeper Rod Marsh. Interestingly, Symonds' last Instagram post was an homage to Shane Warne. In a career spanning over a decade, Symonds averaged 40.61 with the bat from 26 tests. But it was the white ball cricket that was his true calling. He featured in 198 one-day internationals, scoring 6 centuries and 30 half-centuries, while also contributing 133 wickets with his more than handy off-spin and medium pace. He guided the Kangaroos to 2003 and 2007 ODI World Cup. The flamboyant cricketer was never far away from controversies, but the biggest of them all was the Monkey Gate scandal in 2008, where he accused Harbhajan Singh of calling him a monkey, a charge denied by the Indian spinner. But later he patched up with Harbhajan and the duo were a part of a successful Mumbai Indians team. Be it on the field or off it, Symonds' time in cricket will never be forgotten. A swashbuckling batter, a canny bowler, and a brilliant fielder. The legend of Andrew Symonds will live on. Bureau Report, India Today.
Report brings us to the end of this edition. For all news and updates, do log on to our website. That's indiatoday.in. You can also download the India Today app. Thank you for watching.
You are watching India Today.
I'm sure you know of the BTS band, and I know you're crazy about it because they have all my heart too. But do you know what BTS means? It's basically Bangtan Sonyeondan, also known as the Bangtan Boys. Well, they started off in 2010 and had this official debut that featured them in 2013. Let's tell you that it's the Magnificent Seven: S-Jin, Suga, J-Hope, RM, Jimin, V and Jungkook, who are really ruling the world now with their tunes. In fact, teens are going crazy, not just about the band members, who are really almost of the same teenage, but their looks, their hairstyles, their dressing sense have all taken the teenage world by storm. In fact, Indians have also found idols in BTS. Well, speaking of awards, BTS have won several awards. They've in fact created world records, many of them through their credit. The band's first music album, which started in the year 2013, which was named Too Cool for School. This album was awarded the New Artist of the Year award and certainly was loved by people world over. BTS is also the first group in history to win Top Song Sales Artist at the Billboard Music Awards and earn 5 consecutive wins for Top Social Artist. Sold over 32.7 million albums on the Gaon Music Chart, BTS is the best-selling musical artist in South Korean history and holds 6 multi-million albums and 5 platinum streaming singles. Speaking of world records, BTS has managed to win a whopping 23 Guinness World Records and their song Butter has won 5 Guinness World Records. And speaking of YouTube views now, well, that song Butter has shattered all records on YouTube. And interestingly, before Butter, it was their song Dynamite which broke all records on YouTube views. What's the reason behind this rising popularity of BTS? Well, it's no surprises. This band makes songs out of the box. Their songs are mostly on the sensitive topics like awareness on bullying, self-love, inspiration, and mental health awareness. The craze is such that BTS found their new spot as wallpapers on people's laptops, on phones. Gosh, this Korean boy band beats celebrities like Donald Trump, Michelle Obama, Saudi Arabia's Prince Mohammed bin Salman to win Time's Burn of the Year 2018. In fact, BTS member Jungkook has been awarded the title of Sexiest International Man in the year of 2020. Well, it's not just international audience for BTS. India too seems quite obsessed with BTS lately. You have several celebrities including Oscar winner A.R. Rahman, who's recently shared a clip of BTS on his social media platform. Apart from that, Disha Patni, Ayushmann Khurrana, of course, showering the love for BTS, and it's all visible on their social media platforms. Are you too a fan?
You are watching India Today. You are watching India Today.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of World Today, where we will be talking about an exclusive report from Sri Lanka on the economic crisis that led to Mahinda Rajapaksa's resignation. But first up, the headlines. Ranil Wickremesinghe took oath as the new Sri Lankan Prime Minister after Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned following month-long protests against the government's handling of the economic crisis. Moscow has threatened Helsinki with retaliatory actions if Finland becomes a NATO member. The son of former Philippines leader Ferdinand Marcos Sr., popularly known as Bongbong, has won the presidential election with a vast majority, defeating Vice President Leni Robredo. And women in Afghanistan have come out into the streets protesting against Taliban's new decree that women should cover their face when they are in public. The massive civil unrest in Sri Lanka has seen a temporary impasse after Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe took office. This after Mahinda Rajapaksa had to resign because of the economic crisis. But locals continue to bear the brunt of the difficult situation that the country is in. Here's a report from the ground.
A temporary relief to the political impasse in Sri Lanka. Veteran Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in as a Prime Minister to try and steer the island nation out of its economic mess. A four-time Prime Minister, Ranil replaces Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was unceremoniously ousted earlier this week. Mahinda, blamed for creating economic turmoil, has taken refuge at the Trincomalee naval base. He and his loyalists have been barred from leaving the country. Protesters have abated after shoot-at-sight orders and strict curfew. A brief respite was given for people to buy essentials.
If you think that these vehicles have been halted because of a traffic jam, well, you're mistaken. This is the traffic, the queue for filling petrol and diesel into their vehicles. What we are seeing here in Sri Lanka is immense shortage of fuel, and vehicles have to wait for hours together to get their petrol tanks filled. We're seeing here on the pavements, two-wheelers have been parked and people have been waiting for hours together, hoping that they will be able to get at least a little bit of fuel to ensure that they can go about with their day-to-day activities. This is one of the tragic scenarios that we're seeing in Sri Lanka since this economic crisis that started.
I've been here since last night, and just a couple of minutes ago only we managed to get a fuel tank, and so unfortunate situation for Sri Lankans because we are wasting our valuable time.
Prices of fruits and vegetables have gone up and people are facing the brunt.
We're being told that cabbages are sold for around 400 rupees, which was earlier around 200. And similarly, we're being told that beans is being sold for 550 rupees, which was earlier only around 400 or 350 rupees.
பிரச்சனை வராம இருக்குமா அண்ணனடா கொண்டு போய் ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்படுறாங்களே எங்களுக்கு தொழில் பாதிச்சு எல்லாமே பாதிப்பா இருக்கு அப்ப எப்படிமா நாங்க ஜீவிக்கிறது
Everything is very high. पूरा सामान बहुत हाई है. ये सामान लेने के लिए आदमी का बहुत मुश्किल है तो पूरा आदमी का इधर काम नहीं.
But Lanka remains on the edge. Spiraling prices, fuel and food shortage has crippled the country. New Prime Minister Wickremesinghe has a huge task on his hands to put the country back on rails. With Akshanath in Colombo, Bureau Report, India Today.
On Spotlight this weekend, India Today's Akshanath spoke with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Take a look.
Prime Minister.
Prime
Minister, are you confident there's a way out of this crisis? Are you confident there's a way out of this crisis, Prime Minister? Are you confident there's a way out of this crisis, economic crisis?
Are you
We are facing a crisis. We have to get out of it.
Yeah, are you confident you can do it?
Yeah, we'll do it.
So what do you think will be the first step forward for you?
Excuse me?
Get into the Prime Minister's office tomorrow morning.
Sir, is there an action plan? Have you listed out the ministers?
We have economic action plan, and we'll work on it.
Sir,
the crucial ministers will be appointed soon.
There's a worst economic crisis in the country.
Yes.
So it's a challenging time. It's going to be very difficult. Are you afraid of the future?
No, I always take a challenge.
And what are the promises that you're giving the people, sir?
Nothing.
The people, how do you think you can reassure them?
I will lift up the economy and ensure we have enough foreign exchange and government revenue.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for talking to us. That was Ranil Wickremesinghe talking exclusively to India Today, stating that he will be reviving the economy and bringing Sri Lanka forward as a successful nation. With camera person Divyan from Colombo, this is Akshanath for India Today.
In another big story, protests erupted in the Philippines after the return of the Marcos family in Malacanang Presidential Palace following the landslide victory of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Here's a report.
The victory of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and his return to the Malacanang Presidential Palace has brought back memories of the brutal martial law that was imposed by his father, Ferdinand Marcos Sr. in the Philippines. After the landslide victory of Marcos Jr., victims of martial law still await justice.
It is very horrible what happened to us. There is still no justice. They've yet to apologize to what the Marcos family has done. we feel the pain doubled, even tripled. It is as if they've added salt to injury.
Salt to injury nangyari sa amin eh.
Ferdinand Marcos Jr., popularly called Bong Bong, defeated Vice President Leni Robredo with a margin of almost 30 million votes. As Marcos Jr. swept the polls, Filipinos and martial law victims staged protests outside the country's election commission.
We saw the need to mobilize ourselves because we have heard reports of cheating, malfunctioning vote counting machines, forms of harassment from the electoral board and police, other forms of harassment of poll watchers and instances of vote buying. So, all of these are very alarming.
Very alarming siya para sa mga
Marcos Jr.'s slogan was, "Together we shall rise again," invoking his father's authoritarian regime, which his supporters and family have called a golden era in their online campaign. The campaign whitewashed the past brutalities inflicted on the people during his father's regime. After the victory, Bong Bong's spokesperson echoed the leader's message to the world, urging them not to judge him by his family's past.
Bong Bong looks forward to working across the Philippines and with international partners and organizations to address critical issues facing the country and to begin delivering for the Filipino people. To the world, he says, "Judge me not by my ancestors, but by my actions."
Marcos Jr., however, has not acknowledged or apologized for the atrocities during his father's regime. He is expected to continue his predecessor's policies on infrastructure and the controversial war on drugs.
The oppression of women continues in Afghanistan. In the latest decree, the Taliban has ordered that women cover their faces in public. Should they not follow this decree and the order, their father or male